we often wonder, what's the difference between Nordics and Scandinavia? I certainly had struggled that. So this morning I looked it up and I'm reading it out here. In the current scenario, the term Scandinavia is commonly used for Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. The term Nordic is described for the other countries as well, which is Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland, and the associated territories of Greenland, Faroe Islands, and Åland Islands. So that's something new I've learned. Now, the way business is done in the Nordics is very different. Long before we decided to get work-life balance, the Nordics have had work-life harmony for a long, long time. And if you've got virtually 24 hours of sun in the summer and a long, long, dark winter every night, life will force you to have the right balance. And I believe that everyone takes 3 to 4 weeks of vacation in the summer. I wish we all did that. So today our guest is Frederik Lam. He is the CEO of Shipley in the Nordics, a personal friend of mine and a colleague. And he's going to share his insight about how do we bid for business in Nordics. And we're going to have a presentation for about 20 minutes or so. And then Frederik will take questions. In the meantime, if you have questions, please put that in the chat and we will pick that up. Frederik, it's a pleasure to welcome you. Over to you.
Thank you, Sam, and it's a pleasure to be here. So yes, you got it right with what you read this morning. The Nordics does contain several more countries than just the Scandinavian ones, which is Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. I must admit, though, that for the purpose of this presentation, I will focus on Sweden, Norway, and Denmark because they are the, let's say, the biggest and most open of the economies. The Faroe Islands, Greenland, Iceland. It's not huge economies, and so for this purpose, I have excluded them. But most of what's being presented here will hold true for the rest of the countries as well. So let me see if I can get this presentation up. Can you all see my presentation? I hope so.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
That's perfect. And this is actually a picture that illustrates how the winter nights can look in Scandinavia. The aurora in the sky, the pine woods, and lots of snow. Anyway, so we have about 20 minutes, as Sam said. So I will briefly take you through the current state of the IT business in the Nordic. Just a few facts. Then I'll tell you a little bit about what type of tenders we see in the IT sector. Well, and bear in mind that this will mainly be with the public focus, but I will speak a little bit about the private sector as well. So I'll tell you some of the stuff that has already gone through and some of the stuff that we look into in 2021 and going further. I will then speak a bit about how it is to work with the Nordic public sector. What are the pros and what are the cons about that? And I will spend some time on talking about co-bidding with local partners. And last but not least, I have a slide just with some links to various resources in news, in public authorities, in public purchasing and stuff like that. Obviously, you can't use that while I'm speaking, but you will get the presentation afterwards and you can type in the links for yourself. And as Sam said, there will be a segment of questions and answers in the end. So let's jump to it. If you look at the IT business in the Nordics / Scandinavia, one of the things you will notice is that the turnover isn't, I guess, for Indian standards, super impressive. However, there's a very large number of companies, but all of these companies tend to be really, really small. So, and this holds true for all the sectors of business in the Nordics. We tend to have a lot of small businesses, less than 10 people employed. Lots of innovation, lots of knowledge-based business in the Nordics, but not huge production businesses, and not, I mean, these massive IT companies that you guys have in India. It's mainly smaller businesses. You won't find many IT companies in the Nordics with more than, let's say, 3,000 employees. This is interesting for you because when you are looking to bid into the Nordics, you will have to be mindful that you will need local partners. So you will have to find these, let's say, less than 50 relevant companies to bid with, but also be open to include a plethora of smaller local knowledge-based companies that may have this key technology that you will need to be acceptable to win a contract in the Nordics. If you look at what type of IT business that's tendered out here, you will see that in the past, there's been a lot of focus on digitalizing the public sector. So what we have here in most of the countries are digital entities online. So you have a personal ID. And with that personal ID, you can more or less self-service all your needs in the public sector. Denmark is by far the front runner here, Sweden as a second, I'd say, and Norway as a third. But the idea is that all the Nordic countries will be fully digitalized in the public sector quite soon. Which means there are, if you are an IT company that has smart solutions for the public sector that is dependent on stuff like a personal login, this is a really great area for you to sell your solutions. There is also in the coming years a strong focus on environmentally based projects. So using IT to further, or rather to reduce your carbon dioxide footprint. So any kinds of smart technology, smart buildings, smart city solutions is really something that will be up and coming and with a massive focus on in the Nordic region in the coming years. This also has some implications if you are an IT hosting company. So if you are looking at building data centers in the Nordic region, managing data centers, all your attention should be on making a green data center, so green energy, reuse of heat and all that kind of things is something that's a massive focus on in the Nordics. Other interesting projects coming up, if you look at Denmark, there will be what they call signature AI projects coming up in starting from 2021, where we will be exploring the use of AI in optimizing the public sector. So there will be something to look forward to if you're a specialist in really cutting edge AI systems. And for years and years, many international IT companies has been using the Nordic region as, let's say, a sandbox or a playground to test some of these cutting edge solutions. The uptake of technology among the general population is almost 100%. Everybody is digital. Everybody has high-speed internet. We all have unique social security numbers, which means that everybody can get these digital IDs. So the use of any digital solutions in the Nordic is really impressive. I think for let's say Denmark and stuff like having a public digital mailbox that the public can send you secure IT-based information is something like 95% of the population is actively using this. So the Nordic is a fantastic place to roll out new solutions and test how it works, and then build on those experiences, roll it out in the countries where you have a less digitalized environment. If I move forward one step, I would say bidding into the Nordic region, and especially bidding into the public sector, it has quite a lot of advantages. First and foremost, it's completely transparent. As it says above, or the first line, all the Nordic countries are either part of the EU or associated with the EU and using the EU's purchasing regulations. So Denmark, Finland, Sweden are all EU countries. Norway is an associated country. So this means that we are all using the EU tender public purchasing or public acquisition law. Whenever the public sector is buying something which is above around 200,000 euro, they have to announce it publicly. There's a central database where you can log on and see all the public tenders coming out. So there's a lot of transparency. There's also quite a lot of pre-announcements, especially on the more complicated stuff. So you will know half a year, maybe a year in advance if something is coming up. This is also a way for you to be certain that if you deliver a tender for something in the Nordic, that tender will be treated equally to local partners tendering. There's a very strict adherence to the law, and the municipalities and the governmental agencies are actually following the law. So it's a fair and even playground to bid into. It also gives you some sort of transparency and knowledge about how purchasing is taking place. It's, as it says, it's systematic and it's process driven. There's a clear process. There are clear deadlines. Everything is transparent. So there's not a lot of guesswork going into bidding for Nordic business. And it is really possible for foreign companies to win. One of the good things you could say that when you have a region that is primarily consisting of smaller companies, there's an obvious lack of competition between the large players in the region. So many of the public acquisition authorities are actively looking for partners that are foreigners. So it could be Indian, it could be American, it could be Korean or whatever IT companies, at least to have some sort of competition going on. So there is a real and fair chance of you guys winning business here. Also being said that it's sometimes the business is pre-announced, you have a fair possibility of actually getting to know your customers before you bid. And as you all know, this is crucial in winning any kind of business, is that you know and understand your customer, you know what drives the customer, what issues they have, what are their pains, what are you going to be addressing when you write your proposal. So either through pre-announcements on this public sector database, or there's a lot of public agencies here that on their web pages will have a calendar or some sort of timeline saying that in 2021, this is what we will tender out, 2022, this is what's coming, and maybe a 5-year plan for that. So if you have the time and you spend the time, probably using people who has local language knowledge, because it's not all in English, you will be able to make a quite detailed strategy plan for what to bid for the next 5 years. So it's very open and it's very public. And you can position yourself to win. Most of the public authorities are welcoming visitors, will have general strategic meetings with you, as long as you're not going into details on a specific contract, but are mostly talking about your general capabilities, what kind of systems you have, what kind of services you offer. You can get these meetings, and they will at least have some sort of basic knowledge about you and your company before you bid. And as you know, that is one of the ways that you're actually able to win. When they receive the tenders, the evaluation is on pre-stated criteria, and it is at least sought to be objective, or as objective as possible. And if you feel that there has been something going on that's not quite fair, there's a really open procedure for launching complaints. And if you are getting backed up in your complaint, the tendering will resume or restart, and you'll have another chance. That being said, obviously the people that are evaluating are humans, and they do make mistakes, and they do also have, preconceived ideas about who they want to be the winner. And sometimes they will rig the competition in order to get the right results. Which is, again, why I stress for you people that it's so necessary to be known in the sector, that they have a face to go with and a name to go with the tender, so they know who's bidding for them. Trust is a major thing when you're winning business in the Nordic. Another positive thing to say is that the Nordic countries are a super high-priced area. Everything here is extremely expensive. And everyone, and this holds true both for the public and the private sector, are used to pay premium prices when we bid or buy goods and services. So this means that if you're able to do a lot of your development and have a lot of your fixed costs in India, you will probably have a massive cost advantage when you bid against the local companies here. So that's a good thing for you guys. Also, it's nice to know that if you win a contract, you will be getting paid on time. I mean, if you follow the regulation and follow the procedures for invoicing, which is in 99% done electronically, the money will be on your account on the specified date. So it is like that in the Nordic region. If there is a project, the money will be allocated and they will be there on time. So also, I mean, compared to bidding in some of the other regions on the planet, it's a nice thing to know that you will eventually get paid for your services. Be mindful that unions in the Nordic regions are very powerful, very present everywhere. So when you are bidding here, there will be a very strong focus, especially for foreign companies, that you are adhering to the local labor laws, that you are paying for those people that you employ in the Nordic region. They have a salary level that corresponds to what the union have negotiated. So bidding into the Nordics, you need to play by the rules in the Nordics. And that, of course, will remove some of the advantage you have from being in a, let's say, more reasonably priced area of the world. But still, if you can outsource parts of the work, you will have this cost advantage. And again, as I said before, there's a massive focus on the environment in the Nordic region. We're all trying to be front runners on the green wave, and the public sector is using their purchasing power to push private entities to become more environmentally friendly. So anything that you can do in advance before bidding in here, like adhering to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, having quantifiable results on your environmental efforts, that kind of thing will be necessary to win business. So, and I mean, if you have a strategy about entering the Nordic region, you might as well start this work right away, because it's going to be even more imperative if you want to win in the coming years. Last but not least, any kind of cloud-based solutions is really the new black in the Nordic. More or less all private companies are switching to cloud. A lot of the public sector is switching to cloud as well. So any kind of cloud-based technologies really resonate very well in the Nordic region. There's also some, let's say, cons here. Even though the tendering regulation is transparent, it's super complex. And that means that the proposals tends to be massive, hundreds and hundreds of pages, and your cost of sale will be high. It's very expensive bidding into the Nordics. Also, even though there is a transparent evaluation and everything, there is a hidden preference for the local suppliers. That's not the same as no Indian company can win business in the Nordic, because that you can and you will. But if you want to increase your chances, I highly recommend partnering up with local entities. There is also a general feeling in the Nordic IT sector among the users and also among the local companies here that the offshoring, nearshoring has more or less failed. So a lot of people are withdrawing what we have been offshoring in the recent years, or at least trying to restructure. So we will use, let's say, local Indian IT resources in a smarter way than we have before. And in any larger system development, system delivery, you will need boots on the ground. You will be asked how many people are on the ground in Stockholm available for the public authority to speak to at a moment's notice. So if you have a strategy of entering the Nordics, that strategy should contain some sort of office local representation. Last but not least, major issue in the Nordic region. This is all fueled by the scandals that originated with Facebook, but we have what's called the GDPR directive, which is a data protection regulation. So every citizen of the EU has the right and ownership of their own data, and it can only be stored, transferred, analyzed with the express acceptance from the data owner, which is the individual person. There's also been what's called the Schrems II ruling, which means that if you want to store data in foreign non-EU countries, you will have to have the same kind of data protection regulations in place that we have in the EU, which means that transferring even non-sensitive data to the US, to local hosting in India, to Ukraine or anything is very, very difficult. There are some interpretations on this that it's even for testing purpose. So when you're developing systems, getting basic testing done on close to live data is going to be a problem. So as it says in the end there, if at all possible, I recommend that you use local data centers. And then we have all this discussion. They want the cloud-based solutions, but you can't use an AWS center in the US. So there are some issues revolving around that. And the EU in general is trying to figure out what foot to stand on. But for now, be mindful that data protection is very central and that exporting data is virtually impossible. If you look at teaming up with local partners, there are some stuff you need to know about the weird people that lives here in the Nordic. If you're finding a partner here, that partner is the one that knows the customer, and they will often expect to be the prime on the contract. And that's regardless that they are much infinitely smaller than your company, that their part of the job is smaller than yours, and that you have all the competencies. There are some pride to be found here, and a general concept that the company that knows the buyer should be the one that is fronting the contract. So be mindful of that. Accept that this is probably not how you would prefer to do business, but it does create a better relationship to the local partner. Also, I recommend get the collaboration contract done fast and before you start bidding. Don't leave the legal work until you know for sure that you won the contract. It ends up in a mess every time. Fortunately, the companies in the Nordic region are quite used to making partnership contracts, so they should have something ready for you that you can sign, or if you prefer your own paradigms, it's usually not a problem to make a contract, but get it done, get it over with, so you can focus on solution development, collaboration in the bidding process as well. Do be mindful that all Nordic organizations are very flat. It's not very hierarchical, and the decision power is distributed. So there's a lot of self-governance. If you're an expert, you are actually allowed to make a lot of the decisions, also the business decisions for yourself. So as I wrote there, what goes on the floor will hold true in the boardroom. If some guy, some technical expert says this is what we do, even if you go to his boss, he will most likely backing up and say, okay, if this is what my technical expert says is true, I will say that it's true. So don't spend a lot of time trying to get confirmation of decisions at top level. Don't wait with make decisions until you have top level meetings, because they will just repeat what you already have been told on the lower levels. That being said, decision making can tend to be a little bit slow, especially in Sweden. All decisions are made in consensus, so everybody has to have a say, and only when everybody agrees that this is the right way to do, this is what we're going to do. This is one of the backdrafts of having these distributed decision power, that you don't have someone at the top saying we all go left now and then everybody moves to the left. No, everybody has a say, everybody has to be heard. But then again, if the decision then has been made, it's usually a decision that we stick to. I'm running out of time here, so I'll do it a little bit faster. The tone here, when you speak to each other, is very informal. The meetings are supposed to be fun. It makes them massively inefficient, but you have to live with that. This is how we talk. This is how we interact in the Nordic region. So take your time, smile, have fun in the meetings, and things will get done eventually. Dress code is informal, so you don't have to dress up to go to meetings here. A shirt will be fine, no tie. Also, yes means yes and no means no. So if you on your side are seeing problems, risks, or there are stuff that you basically cannot do, please say it. Tell your partner this is not possible. Don't hold out, say it may be possible. If it's not possible, it's not possible. Nobody will be angry at you for admitting that this is not possible. They will be angry at you if you don't admit your limitations. So be open, be honest. And inside the Nordic countries, we're all a family, so we love each other, but we also hate each other. There can be problems with having multinational companies trying to work together in the Nordics, because everybody wants to be the prime then. The Danes will think they're better than the Swedes. Everybody hates the Norwegians. It's like a family. You know how that is. So, but again, if you want to win in the Nordics, I think you should always consider tendering up with a local partner, even if it's problematic. This slide is just to illustrate some of the places you can find more information. It's divided into the countries, Denmark at top, Sweden, then Norway. It contains links to the local IT business unions. It has links to the government agency that runs the digitalization strategy. It has purchasing organizations, and it has general IT news. So you can try typing in those links at your own leisure. You will get the presentation afterwards. So that was it for my part of it. So if you have any questions, I know we're out of time, but let's see if we can get a few anyway. I'll see if I can, am I stop sharing here? Yes.
So there is a question here, Frederik. Thank you. That was an excellent presentation. Really appreciate that. There's a question here from Uday, which says, how can we source bids from Nordics? You mentioned about public agencies posting it. Can you give some info on this, like company website?
There is, I mean, there are two ways of approaching this. You can either buy a subscription service. So there will be a company that will sort through all these public tenders based on some keywords that you provide to them, and they will send you a daily digest of what's relevant. Or you can do the searching yourself. I will, on that slide I showed before, I will enter manually after this a link to the European-wide database where everything gets posted. And you can set up your own search robots. It's really not that complicated. So I will add the link.
Thank you, Frederik. Any questions anyone would like to ask? Yes, there is one from Avinash. Who are the partners that Nordic customers like to work with more often? Are there any specific ones, if you can name any?
Well, if you know the old saying, nobody ever got fired for selecting IBM, that actually still holds true. I mean, if they want to have international partners, they tend to look at well-established, well-renowned partners. They rarely take chances with super unknown companies. The local, it's very much depending on what type of solution you have. In Denmark, we have a local company called Netcompany that has basically won everything for the public sector these last 2-3 years, but it's highly depending on both the country and the type of solution that you're buying. I don't have a top 5 that you should always approach. You have to do some business analysis yourself, or get someone to help you with doing it. Shipley being the obvious choice, but yeah.
Thanks, Frederik. 2 more questions. The one is from Arund, which is how to identify any local partners. Any suggestions? And the second one is, do we have any regulation on split? Like 50-50 may look tough.
For the first one, I think I would recommend, I mean, either hire a company like Shipley to help you find the right partner, or if you follow the links to the IT trade organization that's in there, you can always direct a question to them, because they have a member list. So they have like 500 or thousands of members, and they will usually be able to pinpoint the top 10 most relevant as a service to you. So I think that would also be a very nice place to start if you're looking for a partner. And the second question was? Second was
about any regulation on the split, as 50-50 may look tough.
I think can you elaborate a bit on what's?
Yeah, so if you had a partner, work share, would 50% be with the Nordics partner and 50% by the delivery partner, or how would that work?
It doesn't really matter. There's no regulation saying that you have to place a certain amount of business with the partner. I mean, it could be 100% an Indian company if you were successful in winning. So I think just use your common mindset. If you deliver 85% of the solution, you should get 85% of the money. But there are no regulations. So this you will negotiate contract by contract.
Brilliant. Frederik, thank you very much. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us.
You're most welcome.
And our thanks to all the esteemed guests who are here. Till we meet again next month. Thank you.